So in March of 2026, Meta bought the platform. Frankly, for OpenClaw, the longer it's been available to the public, the more errors and exploits tech-savvy consumers are able to find. The more inexperienced people that use it, the more things go wrong. But as for now, let's continue with the story, because things just kept getting worse. By the end of February 2026, there was just too much noise about OpenClaw, so much so that it became a running joke.
If you're not building a business using AI, you're going to get left behind.
But what business have you actually built?
Did you not just hear what I told you? I have 7 AI agents running. One of them is syncing up my personal calendar with my wife's menstrual cycle. And a tweet about it got 50,000 views on Twitter.
Haven't you spent like $5,000 on the tokens for these?
Oh, it's an investment! AI agents are the future, and if you're not using them, you're going to get left behind. Claudebot, OpenBot, OpenAI, ChatGPT, it's all the future!
While some people do find success with AI agents, OpenClaw came with a lot of inherent risk.
OpenClaw strikes again. A GitHub issue titled compromised 4,000 developer machines. If you think you're safe from prompt injection just because you're technical, think again. Your AI agents may be falling for it and you don't even realize it. Approximately 4,000 developers had this happen to them without them even knowing it. Someone updated the Cline NPM package with a one-line change that forced everyone installing or updating Cline to also download OpenClaw without their consent. The hacker injected the prompt into a GitHub issue title, which was then read by an AI triage bot and interpreted as an instruction.
This is what happens when something goes viral before anyone thinks about what they're actually deploying. Developers gave OpenClaw shell access to their computers, connected it to their email and Slack, handed it cloud API keys, and then installed add-ons from a community marketplace that basically had no vetting. Over 40% of the add-ons that got audited had serious security issues. Basically, the most common accomplishment OpenClaw seems to have achieved in the last 2 months is to show how careful people need to be with AI before jumping on anything new. Agents like OpenClaw can be used for hacking and fraud. Get ready for a new wave of spam emails and spam text messages. The relationship between corporations and small-time crooks is turning into a real-life version of idiocracy. Businesses use AI to manage things that they find tedious, while determined but technologically illiterate criminals use their own AI to exploit these weak points.
The Commonwealth Bank has called in police to investigate what could be the biggest ever case of bank fraud in Australia. It's discovered a staggering $1 billion in home loans may have been approved based on false documents or AI, with possible links to criminal networks.
At Australia's biggest bank, they promote safety and security.
To keep your hard-earned safe, with your help, we can detect scams and fraud.
But now, big questions over some CommBank home loans.
This is something that I think will ride them for at least the next 12 months. It's going to be a point of public embarrassment.
The CBA calling in police after discovering $1 billion in mortgages may have been obtained fraudulently.
They've used AI to help them generate false bank statements, income statements, pay slips and the like.
That's the dangerous part. It used to be you had to be sophisticated. Now there are free tools that you can use, anyone can use.
On the business front, Amazon found out the hard way. Generative AI agents deleted code and rebuilt it instead of fixing the code as asked. The resulting AI-generated code was so bad that it took down Amazon's servers, prompting a meeting with the engineers. I'm not saying that every AI implementation is this bad, but it should be enough to give the management levels of some companies pause. Of course, OpenClaw faithfuls might try and argue that the real problem is easily solved. Experts in artificial intelligence who understand guardrails would have no problems. But there's been some very public examples where the so-called experts have been bamboozled by their bots. The very same week as OpenClaw fans were turning into a huge meme, Meta's very own chief of safety at Superintelligence, Summer Yu, was confident in OpenClaw's safety and stability. She believed that she knew how to keep her information safe. She granted full system access, only to run over to her Mac Mini in a panic to try and stop OpenClaw from deleting her emails. And this was after she explicitly
well, I'm sorry to say we don't have any tech news today. April Fool! Google, Microsoft, Meta, Nvidia, Boeing, and GE among the companies it accused of helping the US and Israeli military carry out strikes on Iran. Wait, GE? Is the US dropping shitty washer dryers on their enemies now? You're gonna have to run the Ayatollah or whoever's pants through the wash twice if he doesn't want weird detergent residue on them. What do you have against GE?
They make shitty products.
These tech companies have thousands of employees across the Gulf region who were warned to evacuate a 1 kilometer radius around all targeted facilities. The attacks were expected to start at 8 p.m. Tehran time on April 1st, but as of recording, no strikes have been confirmed. Risk management firm Helix's CEO, James Henderson, told CNBC that since AI is now being used as a weapon in the theater of war, cloud infrastructure assets like data centers will be pulled into conflict more and more. And then also GE, for some reason. I mean, their microwaves suck, but are they like jihad bad? The writer that wrote that is Muslim, by the way, so I'm allowed.
Allahu Akbar.
Open source software is under siege from AI, and not in the fun Steven Seagal way either. 2 security researchers recently launched an AI tool that can clone entire open source projects as a tongue-in-cheek provocation to show how easily AI can be used to bypass open source licensing. The dubiously named Malice, spelled M-A-L-U-S, recreates software from public documentation alone, producing code that's functionally identical to the original, but proprietary. The seemingly satirical service markets itself as targeting companies that don't want to credit the original developers or share their changes back to the project, promising legally distinct code with corporate-friendly licensing. It's still unclear whether Malice is real or not, but what is definitely real is the broader threat to genuinely beloved open source tools. Curl was forced to shut down its bug bounty program to stem the massive tide of vibe-coded slop submissions. GitHub is considering a kill switch to let maintainers disable pull requests entirely for the same reason, and Tailwind Labs laid off 75% of its engineers after AI tools tanked their revenue. As for whether Malice is satire, well, on the one hand, its blog includes cartoonishly villainous posts thanking maintainers for their unpaid labor, and testimonials from clients like Chad Stockholder at Profit First LLC. On the other hand, a guy named Chad Stockholder is, on paper, arguably more believable than about half of the weirdo tech bros in Silicon Valley. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, today was April Fool's, aka the hardest day of the year for us here, because Temu TikTok store slop has completely flooded the internet, and it's hard to tell what's real. These are probably jokes, though, that I'm gonna say now. Yahoo showed off the Scroll Stopper, a thumb helmet inspired by what I can only imagine is Juggernaut, the Marvel bad guy, designed to physically stop you from doom scrolling. And I'm kind of sad that this is a joke, because for a second there I thought I knew one thing that Yahoo still does. PlayStation's Project Playmo goes the opposite direction, letting AI take over your controller, your gameplay, and maybe one day your role as a father and husband. Traeger's Meat AI glasses promise real-time steak intelligence for those who love meat and don't love meta. There's gotta be some crossover. Metro by T-Mobile dropped Cologne, a phone-based fragrance so you can smell like an old Nokia. And Sega released a Sonic shirt collection that thankfully did not include Sonichu. CD Projekt Red's Project Roach, or Ride on a Controller Horse, is exactly what it sounds like, an experience that gaming has been sorely lacking until now. MSI added a cat bed to a monitor arm, because of course they did, and I want it. And then there were these articles. One from TechSpot about AMD buying Intel, which is thankfully not true, or it would trigger the shitty naming scheme apocalypse. And another one from Tech Power Up about AMD's answer to DLSS 5, called FSR 5 Scarlet Cortex, which genuinely broke my brain, because it's 7 pages long, with AMD-branded presentation slides, detailed diagrams, and even interactive comparisons, which is a lot of work for an April Fool's joke about a feature that, in all likelihood, AMD is probably going to release for real at some point soon. We confirmed with AMD that this is not real, for now. But it's like making an April Fool's joke about Apple working on the iPhone 18. Haha, what if they did that? They're going to! Like how you're gonna protect your privacy with our sponsor.
Proton Mail. In this life, I believe a man is entitled to certain things. A good wine, a warm breeze, lies, and an inbox that does not read his love letters and sell them to advertisers. Most email providers scan your messages, track your behavior, and some are even using your private conversations to train their AI. That is no way to treat a person. Proton Mail is end-to-end encrypted. No ads, no tracking pixels, no scanning of your emails. Your missives of love belong only to the one who moves your heart. For me, that is my own Vicky Cristina Barcelona. We are all born private, yes? A baby does not come into this world with a terms of service agreement. Proton Mail protects you and your familia from day one, because privacy is not a premium feature. It is a human right. Protect your digital privacy by checking out Proton Mail using our link below, okay?
Oh man, look at you. You've seen so many April Fool's jokes that your entire internal model of reality is breaking down. You're like straight up been set ontologically adrift. Get got, son. Anthropic accidentally open sourced part of AI coding tool Claude Code source code. Say that 5 times fast. I won't. The flub was spotted by security researcher Chaofan Xu, who linked to the relevant zip archive on Twitter. Anthropic told Axios it was a release packaging issue caused by human error, not a security breach. I feel like those can be the same thing, but so at least no user data was leaked. Sysadmins on Reddit point out the sweet irony of Anthropic building 23 separate layers of bash security, only to be undone by one misconfigured text file. I wouldn't have done that. Anthropic has since DMCA'd the leaks, because publicly accessible data is only valid when Anthropic is the one doing the scraping. Okay, FYI. NASA's Artemis II successfully launched today at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The first crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit since Apollo 17 in the 70s. The 10-day lunar flyby is part of a longer roadmap in the Artemis program, focusing on lunar exploration, and carries the first black astronaut, first woman astronaut, and even the first Canadian astronaut to ever visit the moon's orbit, shattering the glass dome that encompasses the entire Earth, causing our atmosphere to vent into space and giving us all hours to live. But at least those guys will get to see the moon. Oracle is laying off thousands of its employees as the company decides AI data centers have a better value proposition than people. Workers across the US, India, Canada, and Mexico received a termination email from Oracle leadership at 6 a.m., which is an AI robot thing, with no prior warning, and access to systems was cut immediately. Senior operations manager Michael Shepard took to LinkedIn to write, "To my colleagues who were impacted today, your worth is not defined by this moment." A post looking like it was drafted with ChatGPT. But I think what calms my restless heart is knowing somewhere out there, Larry Ellison is unaffected by all this, sipping Chardonnay in a bubble bath while keeping his perfect wax visage out of the water so it doesn't melt off his head. Over 100 of Baidu's Apollo Go robotaxis turned into 4,000-pound paperweights on Wuhan highways Tuesday night after a total system failure. The second worst news to come out of Wuhan in the last 6 years. Passengers were trapped for almost 2 hours, some stranded in the middle of high-speed lanes with trucks speeding past them. Some of them, those driverless blocks that are just, there's no humans in there. Okay, China, you've seen them. No. Okay, one passenger told a journalist it took her 30 minutes just to connect to a customer representative. Turns out AI drivers don't get sleepy, but they do occasionally decide to take a simultaneous, unprompted coffee break in traffic. This'll be fine. Let's do more of this. And scientists at USC built a memory chip that works at 700 degrees Celsius, which could finally allow computers to be used by denizens of the elemental plane of fire. The team used tungsten, ceramic, and a single atom thick graphene layer to block the short circuits that normally kill chips in extreme heat. It held data for over 50 hours at 700 degrees and survived over 1 billion switching cycles at that temperature. So for all the supervillains out there who have been eyeing up those primo volcano locations for their evil data centers, now's your time to shine. Teal, I'm looking at you. And I'm looking at you, viewer, hoping you'll come back on Friday. Oh, just kidding, we got you again. It's a stat holiday. We'll be back on Monday, April 6th with more tech news. Man, you are really gullible. You should do something about that, like severely doubt everything and maintain heinously high standards of evidence. No intuition or vibes at all, just question everything. Try that.
That was rather violent.
Well done. The time is now, heroes. Claim the altars in my name. You are no longer Ravenlord.
Will someone please shoot this guy?
Thank you, Ida. You will no longer take you Okuro!
You're holding back.
Yes, slay them in my name. Oh, double kill.
I expected more.
Killing spree. Blocked by the dragon. Your killing spree is over. Another tower under my dominion. Death surrounds me.
About 486,000 people in the US currently live full-time in RVs. The number is equivalent to the entire city of Long Beach, California, which has just simultaneously abandoned its roof to reside in a family car. Don't misunderstand whether this is a trend or a free lifestyle like social networks once painted. In essence, it is the forced or frankly exiled choice of those who no longer have the strength to shoulder the mounting rents, bills and debts. The highways now turn into makeshift residential areas. Walmart parking lots, Nevada deserts or abandoned lots become the new address of what was once called the American middle class. They used to have jobs, have houses, have retirement dreams, until inflation, credit card debt and rent simultaneously exceeded their tolerance limits. Each RV is now an iron coffin of the American dream. Inside are fathers who used to work as engineers, mothers who used to be nurses, elderly couples who carry a lifetime memory, but no longer have a place to return to. In today's video, we'll learn why hundreds of thousands of Americans are being pushed off their own roofs, and how the housing, financial system is strangling the middle class, who were once the epitome of the American dream. In a country where the dream was once measured by the size of the house, now, with nearly 500,000 Americans, it is only as big as the length of an RV. A new symbol of free is built from old steel, worn tires and insecurity like a cramped birdcage. These numbers don't come from a movement or lifestyle of young nomadic professionals who work remotely, travel around the country, documenting their truck lives on social media. Nor is it a more traditional image of retirees crossing national parks on a list of things they want to do in a $100,000 coach with the freedom of retirement savings. Healthy. Rather, it's the experience of low-income Americans who work as childcare or home health aides or live off Social Security benefits, with nowhere else to go in the housing market that increasingly caters to the wealthiest strata of society. The RVs lined up in silence. Inside were people who had stable jobs, paid taxes and believed that they would have a comfortable rest after a lifetime of work. Now I have to bathe in the river, buy Walmart bread to eat all week, and use the trash to go to the bathroom. In just 3 years, the number of people living in cars increased by more than 23%, according to estimates by Urban Institute. At the same time, rent increased by 25%, average house prices exceeded $400,000, and inflation corroded all savings. Middle-class savings. The so-called dream of home ownership in America was once a symbol of success, is now a privilege that many people can never reach again. They don't leave home for adventure. They left because they could no longer afford to stay. Retiree woman who used to live in Santa Cruz said, "No one chooses to give up the house to live in a stalled RV, but this is better than being homeless outdoors." Another man who has been a factory employee for 30 years said briefly, "I'm still working. It's just that now that work is over, instead of returning to a cozy roof, I return to a parking lot to sleep. That's the American dream I received." Entering the RV is now not the beginning of the journey of discovery, but the end of a steady series of days. For a few, this life helps them temporarily release their finances, gather some savings, or pay off debt. But for the majority, it drags them into a new spiral of debt and hidden costs. The situation seems to add fuel to the fire, as RV parks that used to rent out cheap long-term rentals have switched to serving short-term visitors. Rent prices doubled. Many places demanded $100-200 a month, causing the poor, the elderly, and even veterans to be pushed out of the last house on wheels. Some tried to set up RVs on the edge of the city, where the law was not yet strict, but that was only a temporary solution before the police knocked on the door. The downturn in the labour market has made it increasingly difficult for many families to make ends meet. Unemployment claims this month soared to their highest level in nearly 4 years. At the same time, prices continue to rise, driven by rising costs of living such as food, gasoline, and electricity. American Dream, once painted with white fences and flower gardens on the front porch, now collapses in steel frames and noisy engines. It's no longer a dream of rising, but a dream of keeping yourself from falling to the bottom. Is American Dream 3.0 no longer about owning, but just the ability to survive tomorrow? Perhaps for many people, success is now simply keeping the wheel spinning for another night. But if an entire generation that has built this country has to call the car house, then perhaps it is America that is lost. No one thought that one day freedom of movement would become a new form of debt, with the very wheels that need to be refueled every day to continue rolling. The majority of people living in RVs are not vagrants, but middle-class workers who are eroded by the cost of living. They are veterans, pensioners, single parents, or people who work in home healthcare. Jobs that feed others but are not enough to feed themselves. With 15 million people over 65, the average pension is only about $1,970 a month, while rent exceeds that level. Many people are forced to get off their old car, the only place they can also call house. According to KUTV, 43% of single-parent families now spend more than half of their income just to keep their roof. And as rents increase, RVs become the last option. An Oregon woman said she used to rent a house for $1,800 a month, but when the landlord increased it by $400, she had no choice but to move the whole family into the old van. She still works full-time, still pays taxes, but her entire salary is sometimes not enough to pay RV park fees, buy gas, and change oil. The hidden costs behind this minimalist life pile up every day. A stable parking space costs $900 $200 a month, not including gas, propane, insurance, and repairs. One power system failure can cost $3,000, nearly half a year's pension. Many people say they feel like they're stuck in a desperate circle when they exit the bank, but are dependent on gas pumps and bills. Ironically, many of them are still counted as in employment. They serve in stores, drive delivery cars, or babysit during the day. But when night falls, they park on the edge of the city, turning off the lights early to save energy. Freedom, the word that once made Americans proud, now sounds like a sad irony. Because in reality, that freedom has to be bought with every gallon of gas, and not everyone has enough money to fill the tank. Former middle-class people now live in a makeshift economy where survival replaces stability and dreams is paid in installments with fuel vapor. Does freedom still have meaning when it has to be fed by debt? And if the wheel is the new foundation of the American dream, then perhaps that wheel is slipping in a financial nightmare. In America, where everything has a law, even sleeping in your own car can be illegal. As the number of people living in RVs increases rapidly, many cities are starting to respond by issuing bans on overnight parking, cleaning parking lots, or towing vehicles they call urban obstructions. And so, with thousands of people living in the car, a legal stop suddenly became a rare privilege. In Los Angeles, more than 10,000 people are estimated to be living in their vehicles. But the city only has a few hundred legal parking positions under the Safe Parking program, which is often full, forcing thousands of people to move continuously. Some elderly or sick people have to change positions every 24 hours just to avoid being fined or being towed in the middle of the night. A 72-year-old woman said that she always kept her alarm clock at 4 a.m., not to go to work, but to drive to another neighborhood before the police arrived. In Portland, the situation is similar. The city has passed a 24-hour maximum parking limit at the same location, leaving thousands of people with no choice but to become reluctant nomads. In California, in the past 2 years alone, more than 2,000 RVs have been towed or destroyed, many of which remain the sole home of their owners. These people don't commit crimes, they're just poor. But in the eyes of the law, poverty has become a misbehavior. People living in the car are fined for parked in the wrong, deported from the central area, or losing all their assets in just one morning, the only assets they still have. A former nurse living in an RV said that after being pulled, she not only lost her vehicle, but also lost her medicine, documents and family photos. The government calls those campaigns to maintain public order. But for those trying to survive, it's like a systematic pursuit. They don't seek privileges, just want to be allowed to sleep peacefully in their own car, without fear of knocking on the door in the middle of the night. A police officer in Los Angeles once said, "We don't want to do this, but the law is the law." That statement sounds reasonable until you understand that the rules here is protecting the empty parking lot, not the people sleeping on it. Perhaps this is the most naked paradox of modern America. Order is maintained, but humanity gradually disappears. Perhaps you don't know that in America in 2025, freedom is no longer a right, but a trade-off. Hundreds of thousands of Americans are living full-time in RVs not to watch the sunrise in the Utah desert, but to avoid rent bills. But behind that shell of freedom is a cold truth. Every night is a gamble of survival. According to data compiled from local agencies in California and Arizona, tens of thousands of people are parking overnight on Walmart yards, public yards, or along highways. Those places have no electricity, no water, and most importantly, doesn't feel safe. According to a 2023 UCLA study, more than 40% of women living in vehicles have faced dangerous situations. 1 in 5 of them reported having been surprised while sleeping. Those numbers don't appear in the economic report, but they recount something else: the isolation, fear, and emotional trauma that people living in cars endure every day. Many people say they choose RV life to keep some freedom, but they themselves understand that it is forced freedom. The so-called mobile home becomes the grey area between home and homeless. You are not out of society, but you no longer belong to it. You still pay taxes, still work, but are not allowed to park anywhere for more than 24 hours. And in that contradiction, America is witnessing a new generation of reluctant nomads. Yet, among those dark parking lots, there were still small rays of light. Several major community organizations and brands, such as KOA, Kampgrounds of America, and Good Sam, have begun expanding the safe parking model to low-income people, providing legal parking, clean water, and basic security. In California, some churches also allow people living in RVs to park overnight, with volunteers bringing hot meals and helping them fix their cars. They are small efforts, but bring the greatest feeling these people have lost: being seen as human. How long until free is just a game of chance, where every sleep can be your last time in peace? And if even the right to sleep in one's own car requires permission, is there anything else in America that is truly yours? When it comes to the collapse of the middle class, people often think of unemployment, gas prices, or rising house prices. But actually, there are invisible gears silently spinning behind an economic machine lubricated by inflation, debt, and greed. Since 2020, rents in the US have increased by more than 25%, while the average worker's salary has only inched up to about 4 to 5% per year. According to Urban Institute, the number of people living in transportation has increased 23% in just 3 years. It is not a romantic nomadic option, but a direct consequence of a housing market manipulated by speculation and cost of living is out of control. The average home price in the US currently exceeds $400,000, and with home loan interest rates around 7 to 8%, the dream of home ownership is now a luxury. Meanwhile, RV parks that were once low-income shelters are now also turning into short-term resorts. The rental price from $500 USD month in 2019 has now increased to $900, $1,200 USD in urban areas. Poor people are pushed away, and their places are filled by tourists looking to experience wild America. Once again, profits win humanity. Meanwhile, basic survival costs also turn into burdens. Gas, insurance, and repairs skyrocket. One engine failure can cost $3,000 or 6 months of average pension. The system, which had been designed to protect the middle class, now left them in free fall. When they cannot borrow to buy a house, they rent. When they can't rent, they buy a used RV on credit. And when the car broke down, they borrowed again to fix it. A spiral of debt, sophisticated but with no way out. This machine operates smoothly, as it is hidden by reasonable sounding concepts: free market, GDP growth, real estate investment. But behind the charts and numbers, hundreds of thousands of Americans are choosing between filling up and filling up their stomachs. A generation that once believed that hard work was enough now realize that all their efforts were crushed by mechanisms they were never entitled to touch. His story is not unique. It is a mirror that reflects an economy that is accumulating wealth at the top of the pyramid, and the bottom must run endlessly to avoid being crushed. Several non-profits such as Habitat for Humanity and the National Alliance to End Homelessness have begun to speak out, calling on the federal government to expand affordable housing programs while also imposing heavier taxes on investors to buy houses for short-term rentals. Still, these efforts are like adding fuel to an overheated machine when financial interests still dominate all decisions. If the system was created to protect the middle class, then why are they the ones who are being crushed between its gears? And when will America stop, before this machine itself devours the soul of the American dream? Every morning on the edge of Tucson, before the sun could even get out of the desert, old RVs started. Not to go anywhere far, just to move to a new parking lot before the police arrive. However, amid that harsh scene, there is still something quiet and surprising. They still call each other neighbors. On vacant lots or Walmart parking lots, a new community form is forming: the parking lot people. These are veterans, retired long-distance drivers, single mothers, or couples over 60 years old who have had homes, jobs, and retirement plans. Now, they share water bottles, charging cords, electrical outlets, and even old stories, pieces of memory of an America they once helped build. That statement summarizes the paradoxical reality of America today, as those left behind are recreating the community spirit that modern society has lost. According to reports from California and Nevada, thousands of RV clusters, small groups of 5 to 20, cars are springing up around the suburbs or close to the highway. They hold dinner together on weekends, help each other fix generators, watch out for each other when strangers are present. For those who have lived among the world of contracts, bills, and debt, what they find here is not comfort, but a little bit of residual humanity. A 58-year-old woman living in Oregon said that every morning she and a few friends in the parking lot started a fire to make coffee. It's not Starbucks, she said, but at least here, everyone remembers your name. A saying that seems simple, but reflects the emptiness of millions of Americans. A society where people were once attached by faith, now connected by hardship. According to Pew Research, nearly 60% of people living in cars said they feel is safer when living near people in the same situation. It's that sharing and empathy that helps them get through cold nights, unexpected knocking sounds, and gas bills that don't stop rising. Where there is no longer a white fence or a green turf, human love becomes the only fence against despair. Several non-profit organizations and travel brands such as Escapees RV Club or KOA, Kampgrounds of America, are shifting their support to this community. They are opening additional safe zones for low-income people, providing electricity, water, and safe space. Small initiatives, but for many people, that is the only part of the system that still works for people. And perhaps, in that adversity, they are teaching America a simple lesson. That sometimes communities are not built with brick walls and mortgages, but with people who still choose to share, even when they have nothing left to lose. Is this just a temporary community or an image of America's future, where people without homes still try to rebuild a home with kindness and memories? During the 1950s, cars symbolized middle-class freedom. Then in 2025, it became their own last residence again. According to a report by the Urban Institute, the number of people living in vehicles increased by 23% in just 3 years, and experts warn that this trend will increase before reaching a stable threshold. As housing, gas, and food costs continue to escalate, hundreds of thousands of people are entering a hovering state, not completely homeless, but also no longer with home. Many cities are still struggling to find ways to respond. Some places like San Diego and Seattle are testing safe parking zones models, which are licensed areas for people to live in the car overnight with basic security and support. But waiting lists are long, funding is precarious, and needs cannot be met. In the opposite direction, places like Oakland opted for quick tackle to clear more than 1,000 RVs from the streets in just 2 years. The two approaches differ, but both reflect a common truth. America does not yet know what to do with its own citizens. A sociology expert from Pew Research commented that this phenomenon is not just a housing crisis, but a crisis of America's identity. Because the country that once boasted home of freedom is now facing a mobile civilization, where people move constantly, not because of dreams, but because of compulsions. As the roads become inhabited, the concept of home, what was once the thread that unites the whole nation, is gradually disintegrating. There is an ironic paradox. America once defined success by owning, but now millions of people try to learn to survive with less. And in that quest for survival, a new America is formed, less stable, less trusting, but also more humane in a quiet way. On makeshift parking lots, former strangers share food, tools, and even the little hope that this may have a place to return. Is this just a phase? or is the new form of the country that once called itself middle-class paradise? And if the American dream is now just a zero-stop journey, who would dare say we're still moving forward? Perhaps the scariest thing is not that hundreds of thousands of Americans are living in RVs, but that the whole society is gradually treating it as normal. A country that once boasted of being a place where everyone had the opportunity to build their future now makes the people who built it flee from their past. If house is no longer where you live, but just where you are allowed to stop, then whose homeland is America? Perhaps what hurts people the most is not the loss of their roof, but the feeling of being forgotten, when the whole country seems to be used to seeing people living in cars without feeling insecure. If you've ever seen a similar scene where you live, or someone you know is going through this, share your story. Every account is part of the big picture, a reminder that behind the glamour, America is still carrying deep cracks. And sometimes, only by listening can we begin to heal. Don't forget to click like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel to join us in continuing to explore the hidden corners of American Dream, where neon lights and shadows are blending together, and where every little story contributes to keep that belief alive. The content in this video is compiled from reputable news and reporting sources such as NBC News, KUTV, Pew Research, Urban Institute, and other independent research organizations. All information presented for the purpose of discovery, analysis, shares a social perspective, is not absolutely affirmative, politically prejudiced, or offensive to any individual or organization. Some details, characters, and narratives are narrated or reproduced based on actual reportage material to illustrate social trends, not representing the entire population or any specific group. Audiences are encouraged to learn, collate, and form their own personal opinions based on a variety of information sources. The author and the production team are not liable for actions or interpretations made based on the content of the video.
In Southern California, the sun rises over San Diego Bay. Next to a parkway, in this parking lot, 54-year-old Maria begins her day.
Straighten my bed.
This car is her home.
This is every day. This routine about stretching my bed.
Maria no longer has a place to live. She's been sleeping in her van for a year now.
Looks pretty nice. You don't see, it doesn't seem that you live here, but you do. I have seen people with their cars so messy and things all over the place. How can I go to work with my life like that? I mean, I have to have a little order, you know, because it's what we need to continue. It's not that perfect, but it's the way I want, and makes me feel better.
Just like Maria, around 30 other people sleep overnight in their car in this free parking lot. Nevertheless, most of them work. They're security guards, Uber drivers, secretaries, or even computer technicians.
has to be flat, because my back hurts if it's like that.
To provide some comfort for all these people, an organization has supplied them with a water point, portable toilets, and a small outdoor kitchen where Maria prepares her morning coffee before going to work.
How about we capture this mercenary camp?
This kind of bulletproof coffee. It's very famous in the United States.
Maria's fall from grace is a situation that affects thousands of other Americans. For a long time, she had everything she always wanted. She was married and lived in this beautiful house. But after 5 years of living together, her blissful marriage suddenly fell apart.
He kind of dumped me. He said, okay, it didn't work, bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye, see you later. I said, what? No, I don't have a place. No home. I'm a homeless. No bed, no furniture, no house. So it's just my car. I have a seat here. And yeah, that's the way it is.
Maria didn't get to keep a single thing. She preferred to leave everything to her ex-husband and turn over a brand new leaf. But over the last several years in California, the cost of rent has risen so much that her salary of 1,500 euros was not enough to afford an apartment. Ever since then, every morning before heading to work, she goes to this gym. She exercises for 45 minutes, but she mainly comes for another rather urgent need.
I had to take this decision because I had no place to shower. One time I didn't shower for a week. Feels terrible. Let me tell you. You feel like a homeless. Stinky. So I thought, what should I be doing? So I thought, oh, a gym. So I came here.
Her membership costs her 40 euros a month, the cost of continuing a near normal life. Upon leaving the gym, no one would notice that Maria no longer has a house and that she sleeps in her car.
I have a wonderful job because of that. Because if I don't shower, nobody's going to hire me. I'm going to be homeless. No car, no nothing. My world's going to go drop, you know, and what am I going to be doing? I'll be completely 100% homeless. Oh, no. Kill myself. Just kidding.
Maria is just one of many middle-class American citizens who have, in recent years, fallen into poverty. Officially, America is great again. Since the 2008 crisis, the economy has never been stronger, a record-breaking growth. And unemployment has dropped to a historical low, less than 4%, an upturn for which Donald Trump has claimed all the credit.
There has never been a better time to start living the American dream.
But despite what the president affirms, the famous American dream is far from being achieved. In the United States, 40 million people are living below the poverty line, and millions of workers will go to great lengths to stay above it.
To get money, are you familiar with plasma? You give, okay. I do that twice a week.
Becoming homeless overnight is what these Americans fear most, because here, the system is not very kind to those short of cash.
You better catch up real quick, or you're going to have a judgment of possession against you and get evicted.
In some states, being late on your rent is no laughing matter. Here, one by one, tenants are evicted at gunpoint.
Where am I going to sleep? I can sleep in the hotel if I need to.
For these Americans on the verge of ruin, seeking medical treatment can cost a fortune.
It's hard to eat and take your medicine too, because you may not get one or the other.
So some people are standing up in solidarity, making sure they're taken care of free of charge in field hospitals, not unlike those found in a country at war, an insight into the lives of those who cannot scrape a living in the heart of destitute America. San Diego in Southern California, 300 days of sunshine a year, beaches as far as the eye can see, an idyllic setting, a picture postcard California. San Diego is also one of the most dynamic cities in the country. Here, unemployment is practically non-existent. This dream lifestyle was once an everyday reality for Eric. He was a successful computer engineer earning 7,000 euros a month. Today, at 53 years old, this man lives alone in his car. And to eat for free, he's made an agreement with the employees of a pizzeria.
Hello. How are you today? Good.
Here to pick up the
Yep. Thank you.
What do you take here?
These are the slices that they have in their display that they have them for too long, then they put them in the fridge for me so that they donate them.
Eric comes every evening to pick up some pizza.
Well, thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye.
He's going to share these unsold slices with other victims of poverty, because for a year and a half, Eric has been sleeping in this parking lot, the one where Maria, the cleaner, also lives. With his pizza, he makes his neighbors very happy.
There's a lot.
Like Lorella, a 55-year-old Uber driver.
Good. Yeah, we're hungry.
Today?
No.
No?
No, I had to drive all day today.
In his former life, Eric also worked a lot, 50 hours a week. But 4 years ago, he suffered a burnout, as well as a series of health problems, including problems with his heart. He could not work and received unemployment benefits for 6 months. Then, nothing at all.
I thought I could handle it. I thought I would get better. But it took a toll, and after several years of just dealing with doctors and burning through my savings, I ended up basically burning through everything and couldn't afford to stay in an apartment any longer.
Eric is trying to pick himself up. Nowadays, he's doing temporary work and is saving up to be able to rent an apartment. After her long day at work, Maria is back.
You tired?
Yeah. It's where I work is a little hard because I have to lift a lady. She's very heavy. Back and forth, back and forth. But 9 hours is not. It's a lot of hours, but I'm okay. Thirsty, my food, my bed. I'm ready to jump in my bed. I'm very tired.
At 9:30 at night, the gates close. From this point onward, no more cars can enter the parking lot. At night, there isn't a security guard. And even though there hasn't been any attacks, this doesn't reassure Maria.
I close the door, put the windows down, like this much, and put the alarm. If somebody's trying to break in, I will know. I got my pepper spray. And I have my cutter. Somebody's trying to break in, spray. Yeah, because you never know. That's it.
A few meters away, Eric is getting ready to spend another night in his car, even though the passenger compartment is full to the brim. The former computer engineer will sleep sitting behind the wheel, certainly far from the comforts of his old life.
One thing that I've really found out about this is that, the typical stereotype of, the homeless person being lazy and not wanting to work or being a drug addict. That may be the case in some places, but the people I've come through in this program, most of them are very hardworking, people that want to get ahead, that either have some health issues or have had a streak of bad luck, or for whatever reason, they've come into this situation. Some people are able to get out of it quickly. Some people it takes longer.
California is a state of stark contrasts. Despite being the sixth largest economy in the world, more and more of its workers can no longer afford somewhere to live. But there is another state where the system is even more unforgiving. This state is Virginia, right next to Washington, D.C., and in particular, its capital city, Richmond. Richmond is a former industrial city. Here, a quarter of the population live beneath the poverty threshold. Richmond also holds an unfortunate record. This city has one of the highest rates of eviction in the United States. There are 3,000 evictions per year. That's 25 times more than in Paris. The evictions are a routine job for Officer Loyal from the sheriff's office. Several times a week, he distributes these yellow documents.
Hey, how are you? Does Candace live here? Okay. This was a notice that I placed on your door. It's an eviction notice. You need to get in touch with the management property, the manager here, if you feel that's incorrect. But we set an eviction for August the 7th at 9 o'clock. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
In the state of Virginia, the law is strict. If the rent is late by 5 days, the landlord has the right to begin the eviction process. A few weeks later, the tenant receives a notice on their door.
Do you know what it is?
I know what it is.
You have only 1 week to get out.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
I know. Well, we'll figure it out. I already know what.
Sometimes carried away by his own enthusiasm, Officer Loyal is not always accurate.
Hey, how are you? Are you
No.
does she live here?
No, this is house music. It's me.
This woman, who has nothing to feel guilty about, got away with nothing more than a fright.
I'm sorry, ma'am. We're at the wrong apartment. Thank you.
The threatened tenants have 1 week to settle their debts. Otherwise, they face eviction by force. And Officer Loyal does not show much sympathy. This morning, he and his colleague must evict the person that lives in this house.
Sheriff's office!
And just like arresting a dangerous criminal,
Sheriff's office!
they enter the home armed with guns.
Sheriff's office!
Right now, the tenant is not at home, and clearly, he's not had time to vacate the premises. As for the landlord, he immediately reclaims his property. On average in France, it takes a year and a half to evict someone, whilst here, it happens in almost an instant. In less than 2 months, everything is settled.
I'm checking the windows now to make sure the house is secure.
The tenant has just arrived and is in shock. She had been renting the house for 7 years. A single mother to a grown-up daughter, she works, but has frequently struggled to make ends meet. She can only pick up her belongings the next day. Otherwise, everything will go to the junkyard at her expense.
It's just going to be easier on you, like the vehicle that's in the backyard or whatever. If you have it removed, because if he has a tow company remove it, then that's an added expense that you'd be looking at.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's fine.
Do you think all this is a little bit harsh?
Do I think it's harsh? No, he got to do what he got to do, and I got to do what I got to do.
Where are you going to sleep?
Where am I going to sleep?
Yeah.
I can sleep in the hotel if I need to.
The hotel?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
She's thrown out on the streets with no room for negotiation.
This is the only way to make the tenant move?
That's up to her, if that's the only way. She said she would move
before this didn't move.
Maybe she had nowhere to go.
You know, she never did say that to me.
There are around 10 evictions just like this one every day in Richmond. As a consequence of this express justice, budget hotels on the outskirts of the city have become a refuge for those who've been kicked out of their homes. Some people stay there for a very long time. This is the case for David, a 38-year-old gardener.
What's going on, man? Same old, new day.
David has lived in this motel since his eviction 2 years ago. At the weekend, this divorced father's children come to stay over in his 10-square-meter room, for which he pays 1,300 euros a month.
This is it, man. This is our bedroom, living room, family room, every room. This is the little kitchen, which I cooked her eggs last night and made hamburgers, so I ain't cleaned the dishes yet. You know, we hung out, played video games. And bathroom, you know, got a shower, but that's about all.
During the week, David shares this single room, which is bursting with things, with his new partner.
Is it not too hard to live for 2 years here?
Oh man, I'm like cramped, you know, like obviously if you put two people in the same room for a long enough time, you're gonna bump heads and have arguments and stuff.
His girlfriend has a stable job in the insurance business. As a couple, they could buy themselves a bigger and less expensive apartment, yet they remain trapped in this tiny room because their past eviction continues to haunt them.
But at the time, she was trying at first, and then you get so beat down by going to places and stuff, and they're not giving you a place because they're like, oh, you had an eviction. It's, you know, shows that you didn't pay this like 2 months or something like that, and it definitely was detrimental to it. You know, there was no way of getting anywhere.
It is almost unthinkable in Europe. But here, landlords are able to access the past of bad tenants with a few simple clicks. A systematic surveillance that has been denounced by Martin Vegbright, a lawyer and defense attorney for tenants.
So, this database is a public database. I mean, anyone can go on to this database and look at it, and you can search by name. So, let's try a common American name. But here we go. Oh, Mary Gillespie. Okay. There we go. And you can see 5 unlawful detainers. Let's see.
10 years ago, this tenant had a series of late payments. Despite being small amounts, like this $291, they can bear heavy consequences.
So if I'm a landlord, I can look at that and say, well, that was 10 years ago, but I think she's too much of a risk. I don't want to rent to her. If anything bad happens to you, whether it's, you know, you get your hours cut back at work, whether you break an ankle and you're off work for a month, whether you got that car repair bill or that hospital bill or anything that just throws your budget off slightly, you better catch up real quick or you're going to have a judgment of possession against you and get evicted. So the tenant really is living under the sword of Damocles.
With such a system, it's difficult to imagine how David could one day leave his motel and buy himself an apartment in which he could properly house his children.
But in a situation like this too, if you're depressed and you sit in one little room by yourself a lot, you end up drinking or you know, doing something stupid. And thank God drinking's my only vice right now, you know. But trying to be a decent person, a good dad. And
David is far from an isolated case. 6,300 people are evicted throughout America each day. Although in the city finding accommodation is the main source of anxiety, there is a region where for some, the main worry is simply being able to put food on the table. Welcome to rural America, the Appalachia, in the eastern part of the country, a mountainous region. Appalachia was once widely known for its coal production. These days, almost all of the mines are closed down. It is often said that the American dream got lost somewhere along the way to here. The Appalachian region, with a predominantly white population, is where the poorest counties in the country are found.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fight.
During the summer, at lunchtime, this food truck travels up and down the disadvantaged areas of Roanoke. Luce and Stacy are two volunteers that give out free meals to children.
In the school system, you get lunch and you get breakfast. So a lot of families depend on that lunch or breakfast that they don't necessarily have to buy, if that makes sense, because the school system will provide it for them. But in the summer, from June to mid-August, there's no school. So then, where are those meals coming from? So that's where we kind of step in.
They serve up to 200 meals a day, and every time they arrive, they are eagerly awaited.
I'm doing good. How are y'all? Here. Big hug. Big hug. Oh, there we go.
Give me a hug, Steve.
Y'all hungry?
Yes, I'm starving.
On today's menu, a sandwich, a carton of milk, and a kiwi. In this family, both parents do not work. They receive 1,200 euros of social welfare a month. But as a family of 5, it's barely enough to live on.
Well, I try to get in at least 2 to 3, but towards the end of the month when the stamps run low, I'll maybe eat one.
One a day. For example, now we are at the end of the month.
Yes, one a day.
One a day?
Yes.
Which one?
I usually skip breakfast and lunch, and breakfast and lunch, and then I eat dinner. So that's all
only
I can
dinner?
Yes, only dinner.
Being poor to the point of starving yourself.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Stacy.
Au revoir.
This reality is nothing new in the Appalachian region.
Choose a tower.
In 1964, during his election campaign, President Johnson visited Appalachia. He was horrified by this poverty. Once elected, he launched a master plan to put an end to poverty.
Today, here and now, declares unconditional war on poverty in America.
One of his ideas was to create food stamps, which were food coupons given free of charge to the poor. Still, to this day, the government distributes these food stamps to 40 million American people. In this mobile home park in the heart of the Appalachia, the majority of families benefit from this food aid. With the American flag hanging from the front steps, this is the mobile home of 58-year-old Cyrenia Collins. A former Marine, Cyrenia no longer works following a long-term illness. She receives a pension of 700 euros, so every day she tries to get by.
Like I said, everything in here is given to me, basically. These were tables that were given to me. They're really ugly. So I'm in the process of painting them and making them a little personal. So that's another way of cutting costs. This is the Queen's chair. This is my chair. Throne. Comfort. I love it. So it's just something that, actually when I bought it, it was a big expense. And it was $1,300, so I made payments on it. Only thing in the house that's really expensive for me, you know, so this is my chair.
And her financial difficulties have gotten worse since she started to accommodate her niece Jennifer, an unemployed single mother who has 3 children to take care of. Leah, Lindsay, and Jaden. Fortunately, Jennifer receives food stamps.
Every month on the first day according to how many kids you have and your income, they put, you know, so much on there. And I get, every month on the first, I'll get like $640.
Just to buy food?
Just for food, yeah.
560 euros a month to feed 5 people. A tight budget. Before going shopping, the two women check the balance on their card.
Staff balance is $62.38.
Serenia and Jennifer can spend their food coupons in any supermarket, like this discount store where they regularly go. Once at the checkout, the food stamp card works just like any other credit card. And in this shop in the Appalachia, they are by no means the only ones who use it.
How many people pay with food stamps here?
Probably half the people
Probably
that come
half?
here.
It's a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Donald Trump is planning to cut down on the amount of people who receive food stamps. He risks making an already vulnerable society even poorer. But ironically, here they voted 80% in favor of him, and their support for him continues. To earn a little extra money, Serenia does some household tasks for her neighbors. For a few dollars, she also cuts James's hair, who works in the mine. He is a loyal follower of Donald Trump.
I am a Trump fan, yeah. I do support Trump.
Why?
Because he's done everything he said he'd do. You know, Trump is willing to help other countries, but his country comes first. That's not happened in a long time. Donald Trump is a billionaire. Donald Trump keeps his family everywhere he goes. His children, his wife are everywhere with him. That tells you a lot about a person.
Family did it.
Family, and that's why I work for my family.
It's been the last so many years, maybe 30 years, that there's not been jobs. Now there is. Our unemployment rate is way down. Really. Right now, it's, yeah. Theoretically, every person in the USA can have a job. Isn't that what they told us? There is a job for every person with the numbers. So if people want to work, they can find a job.
Their unwavering support is somewhat difficult to understand, because since his election, the daily life of individuals in the Appalachia has not improved. Poverty is ever present and has led to some strange occurrences. In this small town, in the middle of the night, dozens of cars enter a showground.
Pull over right over here, right?
If you'll turn right here.
Sold out, okay? I suggest that you be back here about 3 or 4 o'clock.
Well, it kind of trips you out because it makes you think it's like everybody's lined up like you're going to a concert and you get there just to keep your teeth drilled on or something, you know?
Actually, these people are arriving by the hundreds quite simply to see a doctor, because every year here for a weekend,
All you're gonna get in this line is medical only.
a non-profit organization arranges free consultations.
Oh, there is the huge need. A lot of their families in this area are the working class families. They're struggling to choose between paying for medicine that can save their life or, you know, groceries for the week. So it's a shame to have to do it this way, but you got to take care of your people. And these are our people, and this is the way we take care of our people.
We made it through it.
Even though the healthcare system improved with Barack Obama, 28 million Americans still do not have any health insurance. Serenia also does not want to miss the event. She spent 2 hours on the bus to come and camp here, but during the night, a heavy thunderstorm broke out.
Good morning. We've had an adventure. We had a flood, literally a flood. It came really dark over, and next thing you know, we've got a gully washer down through here. Nothing, everything in there is soaked. Blankets, everything. And no sleep last night.
Serenia has arrived with all her family, her niece Jennifer and her 3 children. They all need to see the dentist. But medical fees in the United States are the most expensive in the world, beyond the budget for a large section of the population. So staying up all night does not bother them.
But I mean, you struggle to have medical assistance.
Yeah, it's not easy. Not easy.
But you have to do it.
Absolutely. The alternative is not a good thing. So, have to.
The family arrived the night before because here the rule is first come, first served. At 6 o'clock in the morning, the doors open. They announce the running order.
127. Somebody's sound asleep in the car, eh? 128. The next time we'll call in groups of 20 again, all right?
Once inside, these patients discover a full-scale field hospital. A scene that resembles more that of a humanitarian disaster. And yet, it's really just modern-day America. Here, people are treated in turn by a horde of volunteers, nurses, family doctors, but also specialists who are able to care for more complicated illnesses. The most remarkable part takes place in this sports hall, transformed into a gigantic dentist office. All day long, 60 dentists descale, drill, fill, and remove teeth by the dozen. A daunting sight for some. Arriving upon the scene, Serenia is overcome with emotion.
It's beautiful. All the people volunteering. So many people getting help that need it. Before my sister passed away, she had all of her teeth taken out, and she didn't have any teeth to replace them with. And she was younger than I am now, and she was my older sister, so I think about what she went through with health issues because of her teeth, and they're important.
In turns, the family are going to be examined. Jaden, the youngest, feels a little uneasy.
Double kill.
I want you to brush, even if it's when you come home from school, you gotta get 2 times, and if you can get 3, that's really good. Okay? All right.
In a situation like this, prevention is the main goal of these dentists. All has gone well for Jaden. He's eligible for a simple routine checkup. But for Serenia, the medical care that lies ahead is trickier. She's already missing 5 molars and is worried that they'll remove a 6th one that is extremely damaged. After 3 hours of waiting, it's her turn to go up.
Feels great. No.
Ma'am, are you ready?
I think.
Ready or not, right?
Sir.
All right, I'll take you this way.
Oh my God.
A young student about to complete his university degree is going to take care of her. Before treating Serenia, he's already had time to familiarize himself with the job. He spent his morning extracting teeth.
Did you extract today? Have you extracted?
I've extracted about 15 teeth today.
15?
Yep, myself, yeah. So, yeah, it's a pretty good day, yeah.
He will spend 15 minutes removing Serenia's tooth, his 16th of the day.
What do you feel?
Like I have a big mouth.
But here, there's no time to take a breather. Serenia is escorted to the gym locker rooms for the next stage.
I got her. Come on, Miss Collins. I'm back.
Take care of us.
Thank you. God bless you. Thanks for everything.
A dental prosthesis studio, which, like the rest, is led by volunteers and funded by donations.
Relax. Don't lean it back. Relax your lips. Relax.
In this room, they take the dental impressions. And in the room next door, a new set of teeth is created in less than 2 hours. Serenia's new smile is ready.
You have won my favor, Let your enemies know my wrath.
There we go. How's that feel?
Awkward, but okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it has teeth.
You have teeth? All the way back? Yeah.
know that I can smile and feel it. That's what I want. That's what I need. Yeah, what happened? I got tea. They did. Got the same thing I got? No, they put new teeth in. Love you.
If the family had paid for all this treatment, they would have had to spend over $3,000. In the United States, there are still some American citizens that are personally taking action to give aid to the poor. At the other end of the country, a man has embarked upon a mission against poverty, which has plagued the sidewalks of his city, a legendary city that is seldom associated with poverty.
And this is Los Angeles and Hollywood.
38-year-old punk Elvis
So I've done several videos over the past several months really documenting what's taking place across the country in terms of rent. Rent is going up so much, and right now it's estimated that 35% of Americans are renters. So when rent goes up, it's impacting so many people. And as we are near the end of 2025, I want to show once again the current state of the economy in terms of the rental crisis.
Jobs don't pay 3 times the amount of rent, so why is that a requirement? I just took my younger sister to go look at apartments. We found one that she loves. The price point is literally almost as much as my mortgage, but apparently that's like the average. Now, you're going to fill out the paperwork, come to find out you have to make 3 times the amount of rent after tax to be able to be qualified to rent the apartment. I want you to make almost $6,000. You can genuinely afford the apartment. Why can you not provide like bank statements for the last like 3 to 6 months showing like your spending habits and your budgeting and tracking where they can see realistically, can you truly afford it? I don't understand. Like, how are most people affording an apartment? Average American, especially college students who genuinely need an apartment close to a campus, they're not making $72,000 a year. Make it make sense.
So I'm currently on the apartment hunt for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and my budget used to be like under $1,500 because I was trying to save some money and pay off my student loans while like paying for rent, and it got me nowhere because now I have to move out of this apartment because it's not well maintained and I need a new apartment. What's frustrating is to then move into a newer apartment that you guarantee are not going to have problems at. Is like $1,800, $2,000, which is like insane to pay for an apartment while in grad school to guarantee that I'm living in safe conditions. Like, I just don't understand like how this is possible. How are people doing this?
So why do I choose to live in a hotel and not go out and rent an apartment? Well, first of all, call me a little crazy, but isn't a hotel pretty much a mini apartment complex? I mean, it kind of has the same structure, the same layout. I kind of look at it like they're mini apartment complexes.
We don't need 2 bedrooms. I mean, honestly, it's me and my hubby. Sure, I could have went out and rented an apartment as long as I had 3 times the proof, 3 times the amount of their $1,600 a month rent, and that I had first and last month's rent, the security deposit, a background check, and the credit check. So, of course, after I hand them about $4,000, I could move on in, but then I would have to worry about utilities getting turned on. Power, water, trash, Wi-Fi. And no, I do not have to switch rooms every 28 to 30 days. Yes, I can get my mail here, and yes, if you have pets, you can bring them. It's going to be a pet fee unless it's a service animal. So yes, this hotel is pretty much my mini apartment, and it works for us.
Does anybody else notice all these apartment complexes they're putting up are charging an obscene amount of rent, and you're just kind of like, who are they renting to? Like, I saw this one, that a 1-bedroom apartment was $1,600 a month. Now, 1-bedroom apartments are for like young kids in their 20s, at least they're supposed to be. And what young kid in their 20s is making over $4,500 a month to where they could even afford that apartment? Because you have to make 3 times the rent to even get approved for it. And the 3 bedrooms are going for like $2,500 plus. And I'm just like, who the hell can afford that? Like, I make way more money than your average American. But the idea of spending $2,500 a month in rent is just astronomically insane to me. And yet, they're wondering why people aren't having kids.
Let's kind of give some grace here and say, okay,
but my question is, why do they keep building these apartments when there's no way in hell they can rent?
But it was not self-funding the completion.
Like, there's no way.
I think he said that one. However many times on his live stream, on the development live stream.
So why are they
this
doing
is fully
There's
self-funded.
no way they're making like
blah blah blah.
I don't know. It's just astronomically insane.
I'm gonna be homeless or dead in a couple of weeks. Either is a much better option than paying more to be prisoner in my apartment complex for another year, especially when the prices on the website have been hundreds of dollars cheaper for well over a year. I've wanted to move out since I moved in, and it has been a nightmare every step of the way, but I can only move if I manage to find a corporate job or I have a co-signer, and the only family that could help are all baby boomers who haven't had to rent themselves for 40 to 50 years and simply refuse for no good reason. I was laid off after I moved to the other side of the country, and I've been stuck here ever since. I finally found enough freelance gigs to cover my rent, but now they're increasing my rent, and I cannot keep barely living like this. I have never paid so much money to feel so unsafe. The apartment lured me in with the promise that this is a secure building and there's this front desk concierge person who no one can get past, but plot twist, everyone can get past them. It's happened way too many times and the management does not care. And the general manager seems to believe she has the supernatural ability to change the course of reality, but only in her own timeline. Even if you filed a police report about an incident, she can tell you that it never happened and will threaten a lease violation if you keep bringing it up. And they also give me lease violations for warning people not to move here. I joined all of the roommate groups, but most say no pets, and I have 2 cats. The majority of the houses that were converted into rental units were bought up by a private equity company that still requires proof of income to rent. And the only other option would be to sacrifice my health or my quality of life. And maybe if I liked living in the city, it would be worth it to live in a crappy apartment, but I don't enjoy living here. And I don't think my body's ever going to adjust to the altitude. I can't breathe. It feels like I have a sinus infection 24/7, and every single time that I exercise, my heart feels like it's going to explode. I went out of town for a few days and never felt like that. And I also keep getting comments about how dehydrated I sound. I didn't really have a chance to establish myself in the state before I was laid off, and it's really hard to make and maintain new friendships when you can't afford to survive. I've become such a miserable person because I am so socially isolated. I don't want to be stuck here anymore, but I don't see an easy way out, and I haven't been able to save money for years because everything that I can possibly make goes to my ridiculous rent. But if I live in my car, I would have to quit the freelance gigs that I have since I can't leave my cats alone. Everything I'm reading says to foster your cats for the time being, but my cats are the only family that I have. Sure, I'm related to some people by blood, but they don't know me or care about me. And my parents' house has never been a home to me, and it is not an option. If I have to get rid of my cats, I don't see what the point is, and I just don't know what to do anymore.
Yo, so this is some next level shit. The landlord put a lock on the outdoor faucet. You can't make this one up, folks. You turn the faucet, and it sprays up like that. Our old landlord let us use the hose to wash down the cars, but the new one said no hoses, so we started using buckets. And then we came out today to wash the car, and there's a lock and key on the thing. Can't make that one up. The big man always wins.
And many of you know I always talk shit and brag about how cheap my rent is. On one of my videos in the comments, I couldn't reply to it for some reason. But someone was like, how are poor people supposed to live? And then somebody responded to their comment and they were like, get an RV like she said. And the person said, that's very expensive. And yes, you're right, but I just want you to think of it like this. So I got my RV on Facebook Marketplace for under $10,000. Now, if I were to be renting an apartment for a full year, so for 12 months, we're gonna do some quick math here. So if I was renting an apartment for 12 months, and let's say the rent is $1,000, okay? So what's 1,000 times 12? Yep, that's $12,000. Personally, I could never afford $1,000 a month rent. I just physically and mentally could not come up with that money. At least not yet. Maybe one day. My business is starting to really take off. But my point is, the way my brain works is, I think January to December, that is $12,000 that I will have to give somebody for a place to live for a full year. Now, I bought this RV for under $10,000. So this RV was less than $10,000. But I own this RV. I'm the owner of this RV. I don't rent out this RV. I rent out a spot to park the RV so I can plug the RV into plumbing, electricity, water, etc. So that's why I pay $400 a month plus my electricity bill, which usually is expensive because I always have the TV on and I always have, like, I don't know, I just use so much of my electricity somehow. So my bill usually comes to about $500-ish. But my point is, no matter where you live, if you buy land, if you buy a house, if you rent an apartment, if you have an RV, you're gonna have to pay something to live, honey. That's just the world we live in. But personally, for me, it's just a lot more doable for me to pay $500 a month. But like I said, the people paying $1,000 for an apartment for a full year, they're paying what, $12,000, right? I'm paying half of that. I'm only paying $6,000 a year so that I can have water, electricity, and plumbing. I also own this vehicle, so I can't get evicted, and if I want to get up and move and drive to an RV park in California, I can do that. Personally, I just think this is the best idea for me, maybe not for you, but I think a lot of young people should consider this, because if you're paying $12,000 a year to live in an apartment that you don't even own, then honey, how are you ever gonna save for a house? How are you ever gonna save for your future? In my experience, it's just a lot easier to save money when you're paying less rent. When I was homeless living in a motel, it was like $1,200 a month to stay in a Motel 6. So that was the closest thing I ever did to paying rent. I will say that was the hardest time of my life. I physically could not come up with $1,200 every single month. But $500, I can do that. That's very doable for me.
All right, y'all. So I have been seeing a lot of comments about renting and owning as a single woman. And I just want to know you guys' honest opinions, single women in the comments. Even if you're not single, you're married, just whatever commentary you want to have about it, please drop that below in the comments. I have been seeing a lot of people talk about this, and a lot of women, especially single women, they're saying that being a homeowner is not for the weak. You know, all the things that come with being a homeowner, and now you have to be the lawn care person and all of that stuff, and you have to be the maintenance person, and they feel like it's just not worth it. They would rather do a townhome or a condo. It seemed like home ownership used to be the goal. Like, it seems like that used to be the goal, and that was the one thing that everybody was like reaching for. And I don't know if it's the economy now or like, I don't know, but it seems like that's just not the goal anymore. I think the main thing for me is I definitely want a yard. I want space for Landy to be able to run in, to play in, to be able to, you know, buy a tree house or a swing set, trampoline, like the things that I had as a kid. I want him to be able to experience those things, which is the main reason why I do want to be a homeowner. But just drop in the comments and y'all let me know what y'all thinking.
It's Texas, and I relocated here. And I have been living in a hotel for a year. My car was repossessed in February, so I've been renting a car since the end of February, maybe the beginning of March. I have been renting a car for 9 months. I am so ready to get my own car. I pay $275 a week. And just living in the hotel itself, you know, I'm living in a hotel because my credit is bad and I can't get an apartment. And I'm renting a car because my credit is bad. I don't have any money saved, so I can't go to a buy here, pay here, or I don't have any money to put down on a car. I'm working on my credit. My credit score is rising, thank God, but it's not where it needs to be for me to go out and purchase those things. So I've been in like for a year now, and I just wanted to come on here and just share with you guys, and you guys share with me, how was y'all journey? How was y'all process? If you can give me some encouraging words, you know, when God leads you from one place and sends you to another one, how has the journey been for you? How was the journey for you? How long were you in that wilderness season?
People are clearly delusional in America if they don't think that there's a problem with the fact that to be able to rent an apartment, you have to make at least 3 times the income. You realize that if most people made 3 times the income, they probably wouldn't be renting. And the people who are saying, well, maybe you shouldn't want such a luxurious, bougie apartment, most people aren't looking for the most fabulous apartment. They just want somewhere safe. I'm sorry that safety is apparently now a luxury in America. Frankly, our job market is absolutely cooked. People are making bare minimum, not able to pay their groceries, their bills, anything, but you want them to make 3 times the amount of rent to be able to qualify to get an apartment. This whole side hustle culture, making it like a flex to work like 3 jobs, that's not a flex, that's exhausting. Have you heard of burnout, depression, anxiety? Because like we all got it. And this is why.
Rent is too damn high. The cost of living is too damn high, and I don't understand how the government thinks that that is sustainable for the American citizens. I am looking online at different places, houses, apartments, townhomes, everything to see what's out there. One, they want you to make 3 times the rent. Jobs are not paying 3 times the rent. I'm looking at different jobs that require at least a bachelor's degree, which I have, but they're at $52,000, $50,000 a year. What? And you expect me to pay $2,000 and above for rent, and you want me to make 3 times that? Like, make it make sense. How is people surviving out here? I really want to know, how are people surviving? And then they want to get on you about living, allowing people to come stay with you, and they paying a portion of the rent. So people can't stay there if they're not on the lease, and you can get in trouble for that and evicted for that. And on top of that, they want the deposit, which is the equivalent of the rent, the first month rent, and then last month rent, and then they want your credit score to be extra high. Mine is 796, so I mean I will qualify, but again, for the average American, that's not doable. That is not doable. They want you to spend every aching ounce, every minute of the day at somebody's job, collecting hours and hours and money and money and money and money. When do you get to sleep? When do you actually get to be at home? You don't even get to be at home. How is any of this sustainable? It's not. The housing crisis is already bad enough. There isn't any more low-income housing. I know because I work in housing, so I know. People are really hurting, really struggling to live and survive. And it's going to be a lot more homeless people that do have jobs, but they can't afford to get apartments. And that's a lot of homeless people that I see. They actually work, but they can't afford to get. I moved out into my own apartment when I was 19 years old, okay? I had it was 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It was $625. 1 bedroom now is over $1,200. A 2-bedroom back then was $800 at the most. $725 on the low end. That's when I moved out. Now it has tripled. That is not sustainable. And a lot more people are going to go homeless. Period. Now they being a little picky about how many people you can have living in a home or an apartment. But how do you expect people to survive? They're not paying us enough to pay these prices. This is not sustainable, and eventually it's gonna bust.
Everyone knows that affordable housing is a major problem right now in the U.S., and we are all hoping that next year is going to be better. There are different types of things being projected for solutions, but it doesn't look like it might get any better anytime soon, just because of how complex this whole situation is. And when we have the landlords that keep increasing the rent, that they have these requirements that you need to make 3 times the rent, when you see the shortage of rentals and just everything that's taking place, you really wonder what's going to happen next year. So once again, I just wanted to document what is currently going on here in the United States with rent 2025. Let's hope that at the end of 2026, the whole situation can look different. Share your thoughts down below, especially if you're seeing these increases in your areas. If you're finding areas right now that does have affordable rent and you think that it is a good area, share those down below as well if you're willing, because I'm sure a lot of people would be very interested to hear that. Thank you for watching and take care. Hope to catch you in the next one.
To the terminal. Control it and you can pilot the Protector.
By the Dragon. There is no escape. Thank you, healer. Yuga wagateki wo kurau! Flow like water. No escape.
Effective attack. Choose a talent. Not a welcome development. Preparations complete. Pilot the Protector to victory.
Now you die.
Fort destroyed.
Yuga wagateki wo kurau!
Killing spree is over. The Protector has been destroyed. Our technician will analyze its contents. Terminal activated. Take control of it.
Your grave awaits.
Learn from this and come back stronger. I must know how much damage the Protector can take. Do not hold back.
Your grave awaits.
They've demolished us. Our core is unheap lost.
You want to know what ruffles my feathers is groceries are so dang expensive. I have a family of 4 and I probably spend at least $200 a week on groceries alone. What is happening? And by the end of the week, we're ready to go back to the store because our fridge is about empty and my kids are fruit fiends. So yeah, I just bought bulk of strawberries at Aldi because they're 99 cents today. I practically have to take out a dang loan every month just to go grocery shopping. It's absolutely insane.
Y'all, my stomach dropped this morning when I read that the average cost of living for a family of 4 in the U.S. was $186K a year. So, of course, I had to look up Alabama and do some math. And by the way, Alabama is 7th from the bottom of the list of poverty, and I can see why. Because $533 a day just to survive? And we're talking shelter, food, and basic necessities. That's not including vacations, cars, cell phone, $533 a day. I know people that don't even make that in a week. But I sure do understand why a lot of moms and dads are out here doing side hustles, delivering groceries, learning how to make money online, UGC, TikTok shop, digital marketing, selling courses where they make $500 a sale, which I didn't even know was a thing until a year ago. Because what the hell? Is everyone just underpaid or is the math broken?
Why is rent so expensive? I remember like 9 years ago, we lived in like a 2-bedroom apartment for $500 or $550 a month. And now a 2-bedroom apartment would cost you way over $1,000. A 3-bedroom over $2,000. And not even that nice of an apartment. And it's like they say you got to make 2 times the rent to even be able to get the place. A lot of people don't make that. I know that a lot of people are having to have roommates or live with family just to survive. How can that even be legal? It's crazy, man. Just let people be able to live. People got children.
People are broke and they're exhausted. They're tired of working without being able to set aside any money for their savings, for their retirement, or even splurge on themselves. So they're feeling like they're not being rewarded for the work that they're doing. People are exhausted. People are tired. People know that the American dream is pretty much gone. they're not able to afford and own many things. A lot of the newer generation, straight out of college, getting their jobs, they're not making enough money to even afford a used car. They're taking out loans, which is absolutely insane. And don't even get me started about home ownership. That is way out of touch, even for people like me, to be able to buy a house. Now, there's a ton of factors why, but I think we can all agree the cost of living is insane, and the pay that we're getting from these jobs is just not enough. A lot of people are getting raises this year, but it's going to be like 1 to 2, maybe 3% if you're lucky. And to some people that may seem like a raise, but in reality, that is not the case. With how high inflation is year over year, you're actually raking even, or in most cases, you're actually losing money because the rate of inflation has been very high the past few years. So what might seem like a raise, a pretty good raise, is actually not that good after all. Let me know in the comments below what you think and take a look at the rest of these clips.
So the average rent in the US is $3,000 a month. Landlords want you to make 3 times that, which is $9,000 a month, and then that's like $100,000 for the year. And here's my thing. I get that everything is going up. I get that inflation, I get all of that, right? I get landlords need to make money too, but I feel like at some point it's no longer realistic. If everybody's rent is $3,000, where is everybody supposed to live? Because now
With every death comes honor. With honor, redemption.
not everyone has a job that gives them $3,000. And then the rent is $3,000, but have y'all seen the apartments? Coming from a person who was actively looking for an apartment for 2 years straight, either the house looks like something George Washington and the crew lived in, it has some kind of infestation that you end up hearing about through the neighbors, like as you're doing the apartment tour. The management team is horrible. Like, and even sometimes with private landlords, I remember our landlord told me we could pay him first month's security, last month's rent, but he's not going to fix up the apartment until we move in. So he's not going to do any renovations until we move in. So what the fuck I look like and what this look like? Like, I don't even think it's the fact anymore that the rent is so expensive. I think it's the fact that the rent is so expensive and you're not getting nothing from it. I seen a video not too long ago, and the creator of the video was saying he pays $5,000 a month for his rent. None of the utilities he was promised when he signed the lease are like accessible to him. So you're just paying $5,000 now for what? It's just not making sense. And I feel like people will side with the landlord because a lot of people is just so like not smart. We need to lower the rent. Like the rent, there needs to be rent control because $3,000 is crazy.
Public service announcement. I'm gonna need them to pipe it down a notch on these gas prices.
okay? Because it's like ever since them people in the motherfucking White House got into it, Iran, them gas prices been going up daily. And I live in California. It's like crazy that these gas prices almost pushing $6 a gallon. Like, y'all need to pipe that shit down. Slow that shit down, little baby. Because, like, stuff is not affordable around here. We ain't got it like that. We barely struggling to make it and survive in this world. And in a minute, we all finna be, like, traveling on scooters, bikes, taking a bus, and the train. Because, pipe it down on these gas prices. Slow it down. Stop it. Stop. Just stop. Because we ain't got it like that. Y'all have a good day.
Let's see what this month's electric bill is. Last month it was $527, and that was before the snowstorm. $626.05. Unbelievable. Honestly, I'm a little relieved because I was thinking it was probably going to be at least $800. $626 fucking dollars for an electric bill. My energy usage, okay, so I have a base monthly electric charge of $25. Then my energy usage, $134.48. Then the electric power recovery charge, $459.58, for a grand total of $619.06. County tax of $1.50, state consumption tax of $5.49, total amount due $626.05. It's ridiculous. $626 fucking dollars.
Obviously, the cost of living crisis is crazy. And then you add on to that, like, there's going to be no petrol apparently, so we're all going to be stuck at home again, which, look, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, sign me the fuck up. I will stay home. I will work from home. I will do whatever I have to do to stay my ass in my house. But then, like, they've shut all the vape stores down, so then you've got all these people that are withdrawing. They up the price of cigarettes. They up the price of alcohol. So basically no one can have fun. Then they, like, are going to shut down Pornhub. Great. Now you're going to have, like, horny, corny, hungry, stuck people at home that can't afford food, that can't get petrol, that can't leave their house, they can't jack off to anything at home anymore. So you're literally stuck. Yeah, great. Watch the crime rate, like, increase dramatically, and watch all the humans of the world start doing some fucking wild shit. And then I went and got my kids their Easter shit because I'm going to be on uni placement and I'm not going to be able to get to the shops. There was no price tag on the shelf, and I was like, I mean, it can't be too much. It's 545 grams of mixed bag chocolate, which is literally half the bag. Tell me why when I went through the self-serve checkout at Kmart, because there's no workers on the checkout, not blaming the workers, blaming the company. This bag was $17.50. I was like, am I missing something? Am I actually fucking missing something? Now you can't even get chocolate at Easter time because you can't fucking afford it. What the fuck?
I can't imagine having to provide for a family and shop for a family in this economy. I only have to worry about myself, and I would like to keep it that way. I came to Walmart. Yes, I shopped at Walmart. I had to pick up a few things. It was right by my work, and I went and got my nails done. Yeah, I got, let's see, what did I get? I got 3 tank tops, super cheap tank tops, under $4. I got toothpaste. I got mouthwash. I got toilet wipes. I got razors. And I got 3 protein shakes. And it was $60. Like, I know that it all adds up, but I'm thinking like $60 for this, okay, because most of it was like toiletries, so that shit adds up. But I'm thinking, how do people come grocery shopping and like buy a lot of food? Like, I don't grocery shop like I don't buy a lot of food because it just goes to waste. So my groceries isn't too crazy, but I can't imagine having to grocery shop and spending like $300+ on groceries a week. Like, and then that's not even like toilet paper, paper towels, toiletries. That's crazy. Like, what the fuck is that? We are ruined, really.
This is something we got to talk about. United States citizens are leaving the U.S. and going to other countries. Whether it's Ghana, whether it's Thailand, whether it's Tokyo, you're starting to see it more and more. This is not a drill. This is happening. And for whatever reason, people are pretty much giving up on the American dream for whatever reason. And what I personally seen from the videos is everybody's happy. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to be. You want to be happy. You don't want to be somewhere where you're miserable, you're struggling, and it's just killing your vibe. But we really gotta, I think this is something we gotta start talking about. People will come to America because America is what they would say the American dream. And I think the American dream is now turned into the American nightmare. And when you look at these other countries, if you're cultured enough, you'll see that, man, the places are beautiful. They have the same thing, if not more. The prices split in half, probably less than split in half. And you get a lot more. But it's just weird. We have these politicians in place right now who are just really turning this shit into a third world country. Like when you have U.S. citizens that decide to say, you know what, fuck this place, I'm out. And just uproot their entire life and go to another country that they have no clue about, and they're taking the biggest risk. But when you look at them a year, 2 years later, they're extremely happy. You got a serious problem here on the U.S. soil. That's a real problem. Just something to think about. Hopefully this is over to somebody. Chris with the jokes.
This is not what I voted for. I did not vote for this. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Oh my God, this is the entire campaign he ran on. Credit where credit is fucking due, I guess. He's the only politician following through on his campaign promises. My God, Project 2025 was on his campaign website. Like, he has not been shy about this. He has been saying this is what he wants. This is the great America that he ran on, to make America great again. This is what he meant from the get-go. Like, if you hopped off MAGA's dick for 2 seconds to actually look into both of the candidates and read their platform and read what they want for this country, you would have seen this is what Trump was planning. This is what he wanted. No one who voted for him, or at least no one who voted for Kamala Harris, like, is even surprised that this is happening. At least we're not blindsided. We have the peace of mind to, like, not be blindsided by it. We at least knew it was coming, and it's just been like the anxiety of when it's gonna happen. Not if, but when. And now you guys are trying to backtrack? No, you've had 3 tries. You voted for him 3 times? 3 times! Are you fucking kidding me? And now you're sitting here like, I did not vote for this. This is not what I wanted. Actually, it is. Congratulations. When you said you wanted to make America great again, this is what he meant when he said he wanted to make America great again. Okay? So, yes, this is exactly what you voted for. Congratulations.
The average person is not going to become a billionaire no matter how hard they try. And they still deserve to eat. They still deserve to have food in their stomachs. And they still deserve to have a life that's not just work until you die. They really tried to convince us that it was our fault we couldn't afford life. If we could just get a better paying job, get a better degree, spend less money on frivolous things, save money the way we need to save money, invest money in the right places, that we could afford a good life, that we could have the American dream to get a house and a car and take vacations and spend money on takeout and the clothes we need and health insurance and have all of the things that we were promised if we could just figure it out. So what do? We go to college, we get the college degree, we try to get a good paying job, and then we count our pennies. We count our pennies when we spend it on groceries and on clothes and on takeout, and we tell ourselves, well, that's the reason I can't afford my everyday necessities. I'm just spending too much money on takeout, and it's getting coffee, and it's getting little to-go food, and it's going out to eat and spending money on trips I don't need to take and clothes I don't need to have. And so you start analyzing every single purchase and thinking, okay, I just need to spend less money and make more money, and then I'll be able to figure it out. And despite the fact that you might make more money over time, things become more expensive. And no matter how much money you try to save. You cut back on other expenses to be able to save money, and then things just happen. So you spend the money you have saved because, well, life happens and you need to fix your car, you need to fix something that goes wrong in the house, or your kid needs braces, or somebody loses a job, and something inevitably happens that you have to spend your money on. And so you're doing all the things. You're shopping at multiple places because you have to spend the least amount of money as possible on food and necessities. You shop at thrift stores because you can't possibly afford to buy brand new clothes all the time the way your kids are constantly growing. You don't take fancy vacation because, that's just for rich people who just spend their money frivolously. Try not to eat out a lot. You try not to order in. You don't use DoorDash or Uber Eats or Instacart that often. You try to go to the grocery store and use coupons and buy in bulk and cook at home, and it's still not enough. You never make enough money. You can never not spend enough money on coffee and trips and Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks orders to become a billionaire. They've convinced us that if we just buckle down and figured it out, we'd too be able to be billionaires. And that's just not physically feasible. The average person is not going to become a billionaire no matter how hard they try. And they still deserve to eat. They still deserve to have food in their stomachs. And they still deserve to have a life that's not just work until you die. And they've somehow convinced us that that's the case. That when you have an absorbent amount of money, it's okay to be frivolous and to spend money on things because it'll always be coming in. If you were unlucky enough to be born into a family where you had to actually work for a living, you had to actually go to college and then watch all of the money that you earned from the job that you got a degree to get go to pay for the degree, and then you can't afford to eat. But we're the problem.
I can't be the only one that feel like everything is high as fuck. It has went down. Like, can somebody tell me the price of groceries is high as fuck? I ordered $125 worth of groceries. Baby, when I tell you it was just one handful that could sit right on the damn passenger seat in the seatbelt. The cost of living. I remember when 2 bedrooms used to be $500 something, $600 something. 3 times the rent, and it's about $1,300 to $1,500 for 2 bedrooms. Medication, health insurance is high as fuck. I told y'all a few weeks ago, someone passed away because he couldn't afford his inhaler. His inhaler usually be $60 on his insurance, and his inhaler went up to about $600 damn. He couldn't afford it. What about this high ass car insurance? Good driving record. Baby, I ain't never had no driving record. I remember they told us when you turn 25 with a good driving record, your insurance gonna go down. Baby, my insurance always went up. This year, my insurance is high as fuck. I'm like, damn, no accidents, no nothing, no. I paid my car insurance when I renewed it. I'm like, what in the hell? But I gotta pay it to keep driving. Now y'all said make America great again, but it's feel like making America hate your ass again. What is going on out here with all these high ass bills? I was on Indeed the other day, just trying to see, if I could find me some at home stuff, cause baby, sometimes I get tired of driving for real. Y'all listen, some of these jobs are still paying $7.25 an hour. Who gonna pay their bills with that? And y'all sitting out here talking about, a job is a job. No, a job is not a job. When you just working and you still can't afford to pay your fucking bills. What's better than zero? Where you gonna stay at? Who you gonna take care of? That's not even working paycheck to paycheck. That's working under paycheck to under paycheck. It's gonna take about 3 of them fucking paychecks just to pay one bill. The power bill. What the fuck is going on with the power bill? It seems like they keep going up on the fucking power and the water bill. What is going on out here? I remember back in, 2011. Boy, I was making $9, about $10 an hour. Boy, I was feeling good. I was like, yeah, I'm making $10. Baby, they are still paying $10 an hour. What can you do with that? The new $10 an hour is now the new $20 an hour. You still can't pay your bills because as the pay rate go up, your bills go all the way the fuck up too. Meanwhile, other countries got free healthcare, free education. And we out here struggling. We supposed to be the best. Y'all still arguing about taxes on food stamps. After a while, everybody gonna need some food stamps out here to survive and to pay the bills at the same time.
Is $100,000 high income? Let's discuss. This is based off of a comment I got on Instagram, which I am quickly learning is even worse than TikTok. Genuinely, why are the comment sections so insane? Anyway, this person is insisting that $100,000 is not high income Even when I pointed out that if you make $100,000 as a single income earner, you make more than 80% of other single income earners, and you make more than half of the U.S. household's median income. If you're in the top 20% of earners in the entire United States, to me, that means you do have a high income. Does that mean you're rich or wealthy? Absolutely not. But those two things don't mean the same thing. I think it's severely out of touch to look at wealth statistics and realize you make more than 80% of the country and then turn around and say, well, that's just not high income. That's crazy to me. The real issue is that the cost of living keeps increasing, inflation keeps increasing, salaries are not being raised to match the pace of those increases. So you still have to work very hard even when you are in $100,000 range because the dollar doesn't stretch as far. To me, that does not suddenly mean that you don't have high income because again, you're making more than 80% of single income earners in the United States and more than 50% of US households. Is $100,000 going to get you what it used to? No. You're not going to be able to buy a single family home on $100,000, take your annual vacation on $100,000. You're not going to be able to do the things that our parents are doing in the 90s on that salary. This lady literally tried to say just because you're at the top of the pyramid doesn't mean you have a high income when the pyramid is relative income levels of the entire population. So if you're at the top, you are at a higher level than the majority. I think social media is ruining people's perception of money and just how skewed wealth inequity is in this country. Just because you feel like, oh, $100,000 isn't a lot of money does not negate the fact that most people are not touching that kind of money. I think it feels extremely out of touch. And the issue that you're trying to get at, there's a way to actually address the core issue, which is cost of living, than to negate or downplay wealth inequity. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
What sucks the most about being Gen Z is the fact that we literally grew up and witnessed the financial shift